Hey friends, this is your girl Jen here. I just want to show you this new creation that I've made in my kitchen today. It is a pistachio custard filled cream puff with chocolate glaze and roasted pistachios on top. Come along with me in my kitchen so that I can show you how to make these. All right, so we're going to start with our cream puffs. This is where we are going to make our dough. It's over the stovetop in a saucepan. We are going to start with 1 cup of water. Stick of butter, get in there, and we're going to bring that to a rolling boil. All right, so here I've got 4 eggs that while the water and butter is coming to a boil, I'm going to beat these up into a smooth mixture. All right, here we go with a cup of flour. And this is going to make a dough. All right, so here it is formed a dough ball. All right, and because this is hot, I'm just going to put a little bit into the egg mixture to kind of temper it. That way we don't end up with scrambled eggs. All right, slowly pour it in here. Mix it up with the dough. And just mix that until it's fully incorporated. So after generously buttering with the butter spray every one of these pockets of my popover pan, I've just sprayed my little my tablespoon measurement here, and I'm going to tablespoon out a tablespoon of each dough ball into each one of these muffin cups. I'm going back in and I'm doing a double tablespoon because I want these to be nice and high and full. All right, so for the custard, we're going to have a medium saucepan here. I've not turned on any heat on it yet because I want to get my dry ingredients incorporated together first. So we're going to start with 1 cup of sugar, 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Just want to whisk that together, get it all mixed up, get those lumps out of the flour. What the flour does is just help to thicken the custard so that it becomes more like that pudding custard type texture. Now we are going to add 3 cups of whole milk. Whole milk is best. You can use 2%, but whole milk makes it for a much richer custard. And you want to get all that flour and sugar dissolved into that milk before you turn on the heat. All right, so here I've got 3 egg yolks, and I'm going to put them in a larger measuring cup here because they need to be well beaten before you add them to the milk mixture. All right, well beaten egg yolks right there. I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. And I'm going to use a spatula to make sure I get all of the egg yolk in there because that's essential to making custard. Mix it up here, and I'm going to turn on my heat, and I'm going to put it on a medium high just to start getting it warmed up. And it is really important that you stir this a lot because this will burn and stick to the bottom of your pan really quickly if you're not paying attention. All right, so we're going to let this warm up on medium, bring it to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we'll turn it back down a little bit closer to the low, and we will just let it thicken up. And you will know when it hits that thick space of being custard because it will be a very thick consistency compared to what it is now. All right, so we brought this to a boil, and we got it nice and thick. Look how thick that is. All right, we're going to remove it from the heat. We want to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. Y'all know this is my favorite part. A little splash of vanilla. Measure it with your heart. All right, this custard is thick and ready to go. However, we need to let it cool to room temperature because we're not done mixing all the goodies in it yet. Once it cools to room temperature, we are going to add heavy whipping cream and a pistachio flavor to give it that full flavor we're looking for in these cream puffs. We're gonna go ahead and transfer it over to my KitchenAid mixing bowl. Just let it cool off to room temp. All right, so to make the rest of the custard, we are going to start with a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. Put that into my mixer there and start whipping it until it starts to turn into whipping cream. The whipped cream kind. So I have turned this 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream into what you would call regular whipped cream. Now this is unsweetened. Here's where I'm going to cheat a little bit with my own little concoction. I'm going to use Jell-O Instant Pudding Pistachio Pudding Mix dry. Not going to mix it according to package. I'm just going to put the mix in dry to flavor this whipping cream. I used about half the package. And now I'm going to take that cold custard that I made earlier and slowly start to incorporate that. All right, now some of that pudding mix is sticking to the bottom, so I want to go in and scrape this down so that I don't have any of that gritty flavor from that instant pudding, and I want to get it all the way mixed so that that flavor is incorporated and makes it pistachio custard. Now I like it to be a little bit more pistachio, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this instant pudding mix. Maybe all of it. David says dump it all in there. That's what we're doing. We're improvising today with David helping in the kitchen. All right, so we are going to put this pistachio custard into the fridge so it can be chilling. All right, so we have preheated our oven to 400. We are going to pop these in, let them bake 35 to 40 minutes, and then bring them out to cool. All right, so here I've got some shelled salted pistachios that I'm going to transfer into a bag because I'm not going to use all of these. I'm going to use just a big handful of them, crush them up, and then toast them a little bit into my toaster oven. Okay. Now, if you don't want your pistachios to burn, you better watch these because they will burn quickly. It only takes a few moments to toast them in the toaster oven or in a regular oven. All right, so our cream puffs are ready. Let's take them out. Nice and golden brown on the top. All right, so you want to get these out of a silicone pan as quickly as possible so that they don't start to steam inside and turn into Yorkshire puddings. Now I'm making the chocolate glaze for the cream puffs. I've got about 3-4 tablespoons of chocolate chips. I've got semi-sweet, and then 3 to 4 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. And I'm just going to slowly melt that over low heat and do a half a cup of powdered sugar, sifted of course. And as you can see, that low heat has already got the morsels started to melt. It's all melted together, it's smoothing out. You don't want to have it too high because you will burn that chocolate. All right, and now we're ready to drizzle this onto our cream puffs. Okay, for the cream puffs, I just went around with this serrated knife gently across the top. Took off the top and then shelled out the center here and put that into a bowl because you need this to be hollow for your pistachio custard. Okay, so this custard set up really thick, as you can see. It's almost like a serious mousse. So I've added more milk to it, and I'm just going to whip that whole milk into it to make it more of a creamy texture. I think it's just because we decided to follow David's instructions and put the whole package of pudding in there. But it still tastes delicious. So here we go. All right, so I've got this thinned out enough to where it's more of a custardy texture. And we are ready to fill our cream puffs. Now you can either pipe this on or spoon it in. I'm just going to spoon this in. It's a lot quicker to do that. But if you want to make it pretty, you can do it with, you know, a special piping bag with a special star tip on it so that it will make it really pretty as you put it in. But I'm just going to spoon this in as it is. Okay, so as you can see, I've got quite a bit of pistachio custard here, which is fine. You can freeze it for another day or another dessert. I'm going to overfill these because I really love this pistachio custard. And whenever you put the tops back on and then glaze it with the chocolate, it's just going to accent each other. So you kind of can have a little bit more pistachio than you can the chocolate ratio, because it's just going to bring out the nuttiness of the flavor of the pistachios and the creaminess and the texture of the custard. All right, so here we are with the chocolate glaze, and we just put that on and then top it with our toasted pistachios. Okay, so if you're looking for a really different dessert, and you like the texture of cream puffs, chocolate, and maybe pistachio, this might just be the dessert for you.